Well, guys, at least we're all in this together. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for what's going to be nothing short of another jam-packed daily market update. We're going to be taking a look at everything. We're going to be starting things off with a little bit of market sentiment analysis. It's pretty much rock bottom. In fact, market sentiment has been, over the past couple of days, worse than the kind of peak of everything that unfolded with FTX, which is interesting given where the markets are at. Bitcoin, of course, is now flirting with sub $80,000. And we're going to look at that in relation to closing the CME gap. I think actually for me personally, once that gap has closed, I will be buying or adding to altcoin positions that I already have. And also some crypto miners or Bitcoin miners specifically. There's also a gap on the S&P 500 that's been filled. We'll talk a little bit again about the nature of the cryptocurrency space because it's the same thing every time when it comes to pullbacks. And I do believe this is a pullback in a broader uptrend. I think the trend is very much still intact. It's the same kind of emotions. It's over, it's done, etc., etc. And when you look at things objectively and technically, actually, I think it's a very different picture that is opposed to perhaps sentiment right now, which is where we'll start the video off. I'll also remind people of all the sort of uncertainty that's going on right now. I know Trump met with Starmer yesterday. Starmer looking very uncomfortable through all of that, kind of like a kid in front of the headmaster. Also, Trump sort of tariff concerns are raging through the markets. And then we'll talk about the SEC. Thank you very much to the SEC for officially classifying meme coins as not securities. So there is a bright side, a silver lining to everything going on today, and that is that meme coins are no longer securities. Wow. I mean, it's very interesting what's going on right now because there was a big talk sort of promised going into this year by the president himself and with the possibilities of what the likes of the SEC, the new SEC, were going to do, et cetera, et cetera. And they are doing pretty remarkable things. People, because they're focused on price action right now, are really sort of glazing over the fact that the Coinbase, Robinhood, Uniswap, OpenSea, et cetera, sort of cases are all being dropped. The Ripple one is to come. When you look at XRP objectively, technically, it looks good, guys. It's had that rally. It's broken out of that sort of 7-year pattern, and now it's just consolidating. Hedera coming back into support. Generally, I don't think the market looks too bad at all, despite the sentiment. And of course, you know, if you were to compare the crypto price action or you saw crypto's kind of price action in the traditional kind of financial world, yeah, it'd be cause of concern. But this is the cryptocurrency market, guys. It is the Wild West. You all knew or you should have known what you signed up for. And you've got to take the kind of rough with the smooth, unfortunately. And I think it was 50 Cent that said, joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain, you know? Just to kind of give you a little bit of motivation there. Let's talk about sentiment. So the fear and greed index today is at 16. Yesterday it was at 10. So it's climbed up slightly. And this is the kind of historical sort of chart of the fear and greed index. And you can see it got to 10 here. And the last time it was at 10 was really, was this the FTX crash? Was it June 2022? No, it wasn't. It was sort of here as we were crashing. So at a pretty low point. This is the CME chart, by the way. If you're looking why the Bitcoin chart looks slightly different, because we're going to be covering the sort of gap on the CME that had always been there. And then you've had events like March 2020. We actually got to the same levels yesterday that we did March 2020. Now, this is not financial advice, and there's no but here, but it has historically been a good time to enter the markets when everyone's absolutely wetting the bed. And that's what we're seeing today, certainly in regards to the fear and greed index and sentiment. I don't think it's warranted. I think people are spiraling in regards to possibilities. Trump went into this year as a bit of a hero. Now everyone's going, this guy, you know, what the hell is he doing? People are very much spiraling. And I think, and I will get a video done for you guys on my sort of thesis on the dollar and monetary policy and the economy for 2025. I think it's going to be a 2017 repeat. And if that's to take place, you know, certainly when you compare that to the altcoins, the stock market in 2017 when Trump was last in office had a bit of a shaky start, and then we had an epic bull run from April onwards. For 8 months of the year, altcoins made all their gains. And that's how fast this can happen in the cryptocurrency space. So Sentiment is absolutely crap. I just want to remind people that we've had, and this one is, particularly sort of trying, but we've had multiple pullbacks since this uptrend started. 22%. We've been through all of these and keeping you guys on the broader trend. 21%, 24%, 22%. Should have just left this on. I mean, this one in total was 33%. But within that, there were multiple 20% pullbacks. Each one of these, crypto's dead, I told you so. Isn't it funny how everyone comes out and says, I told you so, with the value of hindsight, without showing any kind of actions that were taken or anything? This range could have gone either way. And obviously today we're 29% down from the sort of height of this. I really do just think this is a normal pullback in what's a very intact broader uptrend. Of course, we've got technical targets, which I will show you guys in just a second, that see continuation for Bitcoin to the upside. Remember, Bitcoin had just broken out of its all-time high. Is it possible that it just wants to retest it? All-time high resistance back into support. And actually, the reason I've got the CME up is due to the gap that gets closed at 78k. So that is still, and I really would like this to close. I know I'm kind of wishing downside here, but just so we can get it over of a 3% downside for Bitcoin. Let's get that gap closed. We'll be bidding that. I'll be bidding that personally. So get ready for it, guys. It's not going to be any sort of market moving magnitude. I'm predominantly all in the cryptocurrency space. Despite this pullback, we've still got 70% of our portfolio that's still hundreds of percent up. And that's because we're in the right coins, the coins that have real staying power and use and utility. The vast majority of cryptocurrencies, guys, are not going to survive. 99% of them won't survive. It's the ones that actually get used and utilized in the world that will. Things for me like Hedera, XRP, XLM, etc. I'm a big Chainlink fan. And then we've got sort of further out the risk curve, further into the risk curve, I should say, sort of deep in an AI project. If you want to get on board with that, do become a Patreon. I'll also be buying a mining stock this week. But I'd like this CME gap to close. So these gaps don't always close. They do often. For example, an example I looked at on my Patreon was this gap here. It actually took 2 years to close, but it did get closed eventually. But this very much looks like it does want to close. And remember, the close of this is taking place at, let's say, 77,000 or 77,800. So you're talking about a 3% downside from where you currently are today. Let's get this closed and move on and resume the broader, and let's go back to the chart that we always use, uptrend. And remember, we've got not only the fact that we're in an uptrend. Of course, fundamentally, could talk all day long about why Bitcoin does well, but we're not really that asked about fundamentals. What we're more asked about is what we can see technical merit for, and there are still a confluence of technical targets that ultimately see Bitcoin progress to the upside. And actually, I think more broadly, market positioning supports that. When we look at the S&P, by the way, this is the last time Trump got into office. I did this with Patreons. This was January. You can see you had a bit of a shaky start, but then you resume that broader uptrend. And that was ultimately because of what he did with the dollar to spur on economic growth, which I think he's going to do this time around. I will do a video, potentially like a walk and talk for you guys on that. There was a gap on the S&P 500 as well that's actually just been closed. And we're talking about this one here. Gaps do often get closed. Gaps are caused by basically that kind of pressure to either the up or the downside that builds up overnight when the markets are closed, and then when they open, there's a kind of jump because of all the pre-market bids. So we'll see what happens. The CME gap I'd like to get closed. This is an area I'll be looking to bid, ultimately sticking to the broader plan. This is crypto, guys. We've done this sort of on a number of occasions now, but this is Ethereum's road to a 60x. And everybody wants those 60x. Nobody's willing to hold or ride the journey to that. Just if you look at Bitcoin and how many times it's pulled back, we've just done that exercise. Can you time every local top and bottom? Could you have timed every local top and bottom on Ethereum? Remember, this market's so volatile, you only need to get it wrong once and you're in trouble. I only care about being in for the broader uptrend, which I think is still intact in my opinion. And because of that, I can have this kind of calmness when it comes to the markets in having that bigger vision and trajectory and not getting sort of too upset. It's never nice to see your portfolio lose some of the gains that it's made. But because of that, I can have this kind of calm and stillness when it comes to the markets, and ultimately stick to a bigger plan until there's reason to suspect it to be invalidated. But if you look at Ethereum's journey to a sort of 60x, I mean, it was just a brutal time. And this is sort of, at every one of these, you'd have had the same kind of sentiment that you have today. And this is Ethereum's last bull market. And remember, you've got some altcoins, even that I'm in, that are significantly more volatile than that. So I think there's a lot going on in regards to sort of geopolitical uncertainty. Remember, guys, you're investing in the most new, volatile, and potentially risky asset class in the world right now, at a time when there's never been so much geopolitical, social, and perhaps fiscal uncertainty. It's not the easiest task to sort of undertake. Ethereum, just a comment on it, by the way, is still at what I'd look at as support here. And I do think you might just end up with a bit of a double retest and bouncing off here. Isn't it convenient that all these ETFs have been approved and BlackRock's sort of manipulating the market through potentially selling or pressuring the sales of BTC? So we're obviously seeing all that sort of come through. A lot of uncertainty. You know, Trump's levied tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and he's set to go ahead with that, although it looked like an agreement was made, potentially not. Also 10% tariffs on China, and China essentially vowing to retaliate as necessary. Trump and Starmer, like I say, Starmer looked like a kid in the headmaster's office, in my opinion. Potentially looking to set up some sort of deal without that. We kind of need that in the UK. And despite all this bad news, thank goodness for the SEC. They've classified meme coins as not securities, but fraud still targeted. Thank goodness. The SEC just put out a staff guidance on meme coins. TLDR, not a security. So, interesting time to be in the cryptocurrency space. Hang in there, guys. Brighter days are ahead. You know, we've got you this far. It's my opinion that we're going to see that continuation for Bitcoin, but the space more broadly. I think just to look at a few altcoins, certainly some of my favorites being HBAR, I think this is going to act as support. I truly do, and you will bounce in and around here and see that continuation to the upside. Look at something like XRP. People saying XRP is dead. Look at the move that it had and look where it is. You know? I mean, it could really come back significantly and you'd still be A-OK. And remember, this is just broken out of that sort of macro pattern that I ultimately still think takes us to $19.27. And it's kind of interesting to say all this, certainly in the face of adversary right now in regards to market action. People always spiral when it comes to events like this because they are brutal in regards to volatility and fluctuation that your portfolio can undergo. But this is crypto. Again, everybody wants that 60x Ethereum gain of the last sort of bull run. Nobody wants to sort of endure what the road to getting there actually looks like. And I think if you can endure that, you'll do very, very well. There's so much reason to fundamentally be bullish on the cryptocurrency space. Technically, I also think, certainly in my opinion, the more probable case is continuation for this market. And when you sort of marry them up, I really don't think we've got anything to worry about. This technology truly is transformational. We speak to people every single day that work in this industry, that are building in this industry, that are creating products around this industry. Ultimately, it's a case of being in it to win it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to love and leave you on that note. Let's see what happens when the CME gap gets filled. It was always a possibility. Maybe you want to retest the all-time highs. Ultimately, I'm going to be looking to deploy more capital into the markets and add to the positions that I already have for what we think is going to be a good time ahead. And I think that's a more probable case than the kind of it's over scenario. And the it's over people will just disappear once, like they have done 5 or 6 times now, once we sort of continue with the broader trend. That's it from me, guys. I'm going to love and leave you. Have a fantastic Friday, and I'll see you all in the next one. See you soon, guys.